Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Heavy Rain by Quantic Dream. These days, it seems more and more that games are beginning to look like movies. No other game fulfills that idea, perhaps, than Quantic Dream's impressive-looking Heavy Rain. Instilling the game with true human emotion, gorgeous visuals, and consequences for even the most innocuous-seeming actions, the game may even push the boundaries of real life versus a movie. However, does Heavy Rain benefit from being interactive, or would it have succeeded better being released in theaters?
Who wants to go first?
Me first! Me first!
Heavy Rain delivers such a powerful narrative that you sometimes forget that you're playing a game. The writing is clever and well structured, and will have you on your toes and looking for clues to try and calculate all the twists that the game throws at you. Chances are, though, you'll be caught off your guard and be surprised to see who the game's antagonist is. The game begins with you in control of Ethan Mars. A typical caring husband and father, Ethan is employed as a freelance architect. Shortly after his son Jason's birthday, a parent's single worst nightmare occurs. Ethan loses Jason. The Mars family is in a crowded mall, and it only takes a moment for the child to vanish from Ethan's sight. By the time Ethan finds him, Jason is outside the mall, across a busy street. When called, Jason rushes through the busy section, and Ethan is forced to jump in front of oncoming traffic to try and rescue the boy. Unfortunately, tragedy strikes the family, and Jason loses his life in the crash. Ethan too suffers greatly, losing himself in a coma for 6 months. After 2 years, Ethan's life has taken multiple wrong turns. He is separated from his wife, and his relationship with his remaining son, Sean, is strained. To top it off, Ethan suffers through some tumultuous psychological bouts of depression, and has terrible blackouts. It is while under the effects of one of his blackouts that Sean disappears, and Ethan begins to fear that a serial murderer known as the Origami Killer is responsible. The rest of the story puts you in the shoes of 3 other characters as well as Ethan. Scott Shelby is a retired police officer working as a private detective to try and aid families who have lost sons to the Origami Killer. Norman Jayden is an FBI agent who uses some fairly high-tech resources to aid him in his own investigation of the case. And a photojournalist named Madison Page begins conducting her own inspection of the Origami Killer. All the characters overlap and interact, and prove that Heavy Rain truly has the chops to deliver an amazing story. Heavy Rain has an interesting way of presenting its mechanics. The controls are, for the most part, very foreign, and take a lot of time to get used to. Everything is done by button or controller context. If you want to sit down on a chair, you have to approach the chair and hit the right analog stick down. If you want to brush your teeth, you have to rock the 6-axis controller from side to side. The problem with this is that the game lacks any true uniformity. For the most part, things are intuitive, but Heavy Rain does end up feeling a little clunky because of the excessive variety. Action sequences, on the other hand, benefit from this design choice, because it makes everything seem more pressing, urgent, and perilous. The first true fight sequence seems to go on forever, and puts more quick button presses on screen than you may be prepared for, but it certainly sets the pace for the rest of the game. One of the questionable decisions of the developer was the need to hold down R2 to walk, while using the left stick to guide your character. Why they didn't just have the left stick handle movement as a whole is beyond the realm of imagination. Some of the mundane actions in the beginning of the title, like brushing your teeth or toweling yourself off after a shower, may seem like wasted moments in the game, but you begin to appreciate the reality of the situation because of it. Heavy Rain is, hands down, one of the best looking games of all time. With the exception of some rare cases of awkward animation, characters interact fluently and attractively. Occasionally, you might get lost in one of the scenes, but with the press of the button, the camera changes to another view, helping you really scope out the area, and appreciating the visuals that the developer instilled on this dark noir. Heavy Rain benefits from some excellent sound as well. The music sets the mood perfectly with the tragic and worrisome story, and the sounds all play to the ambiance in an almost haunting way. The voice work is a little less satisfactory, but in contrast, it's still pretty good.
But I find you very attractive.
You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Man.
Because of some of the more mundane portions of Heavy Rain, which present themselves largely in the beginning of the game, going through the title a second time might not be something that would be enjoyable in its entirety. However, because of the choices you are given, and the effect that even the most benign-seeming choices can have on the game, a nearly endless amount of possible changes to the narrative are present. In this case, it may be worth your while to play it a couple of times. It all depends on what kind of person you are and how satisfied you were with the narrative the first time you played it. Players who want even more Heavy Rain are in luck, as a prequel is being released as downloadable content. If Heavy Rain delivered some classic gameplay, it may have suited more players. However, its unique style is perhaps one of the reasons that it has turned so many heads thus far. Additionally, one cannot discount the merit of its presentation as a whole. The game clearly pushes the boundaries of storytelling from a gaming platform, despite some clunky-seeming controls that eventually ingrain themselves into the player's mind. If you can keep yourself going in the game long enough to reach the points where things click, you may find you're in for a real treat. That's Entertainment Awards Heavy Rain a score of 8.5 out of 10.